What's up, YouTube? This is JG, always on topics. Thank you for viewing my channel. Leave a like, comment, share, and most importantly, subscribe. Okay, so I'm kind of late on this topic. I wish I was on it a lot sooner, but the reason I wasn't on the story like that because I was focusing on other stories and I needed more details about this. So I finally found the time to do a story about Caleb Wilson, the former band member of the Southern Jaguars and also a student who died trying to join a fraternity, and a suspect has been caught. Let's show you the first clip.
And new details coming out today as police report that they have a suspect in their jail. You're watching Louisiana First News. Authorities report 2 others are expected to be arrested in connection with this death. Louisiana First News reporter Deshaun Johnson there as police updated the public about their investigation. Deshaun, authorities claimed that Wilson was essentially hazed to death. Now, did anyone call 911 when things went south?
Well, Andre, according to police, no one called police or paramedics. The tragic circumstances leading to his death becoming much more clear today. Baton Rouge police say questions are starting to be answered on who was involved in the death of Southern student Caleb Wilson.
Detectives have interviewed over a dozen people and executed multiple search warrants to gather as much information as possible.
Baton Rouge Police Chief Thomas Morse says as of now, 23-year-old Caleb McCrary turned himself in and has been charged with manslaughter and felony hazing. 2 more suspects are involved.
Last night, one of the suspects, Caleb McCrary, turned himself in with his attorney and was booked into East Baton Rouge Parish Prison. McCrary has been charged with criminal hazing and manslaughter.
The original story Morris says the suspects came up with is that he passed out playing basketball at a park. They then drove him to Baton Rouge General, where he was pronounced dead. Nurses called the police, which led to a deeper investigation.
BRPD detectives uncovered that the location reported initially was not accurate, and that the alleged incident, in fact, occurred at a warehouse located at 3412 Woodcrest Drive.
Morris explains the details of what led up to the actual truth. McCrary and other Omega Psi Phi fraternity members were located at this warehouse in East Baton Rouge. According to documents, all pledges, including Wilson, were punched in the chest. Wilson was punched 4 times, causing him to collapse and have a seizure.
Caleb Wilson died as the direct result of a hazing incident where he was punched in the chest multiple times while pledging to Omega Psi Phi fraternity.
EBR District Attorney Hiller Morris says there's a possibility all 3 suspects can be charged with the Max Groover Act, which was created in Louisiana, making hazing illegal. No pledges are being charged.
Max Groover law, which is hazing, so it incorporates not only misdemeanor hazing, act of regular hazing, but also when hazing involves a great bodily injury or death.
Southern University President Dennis Shields says he's grateful for the work into the investigation and will continue to help give as much information as possible. Mayor President Sid Edwards also speaking, saying he's upset with the situation.
It's a sad day to use such a promising young life. And I encourage all the young people out there to make better decisions.
Morse says this is a serious situation and more information can soon be released.
This is still an active and ongoing investigation, so additional warrants and persons involved cannot be ruled out at this time.
McCrary's lawyer, Philip Robinson, is expressing condolences to the Wilson family, but he's also insisting that his client is innocent. In a statement, Robinson said, quote, "I have not been presented with any evidence to support such serious accusations. I maintain my client's innocence and urge the public to withhold rushing to judgment until all the evidence is heard," end quote. In studio, Deshaun Johnson, Louisiana First News.
Okay, so you saw that clip and you heard what happened. You know, they took him to a warehouse where other fraternity members of Psi Phi fraternity punching him in the chest, constantly punching him in the chest. they were wearing boxing gloves, but it's still just constantly having getting punched in the chest by multiple members of the Psi Phi fraternity Delta was still enough to do damage to your ribs and fracture anything that's internal in the organs. So he tried to come up with a plan to fabricate what really happened by changing his clothes and putting on some gym clothes and saying that he died playing basketball. He collapsed on a basketball court. The only thing is, when they changed his clothes and all that, they were clean. They weren't dirty or have no scratches to prove that he was playing basketball. But anyway, they got there's a clip of them catching a second suspect that was involved. Let me roll that.
Baton Rouge police are working to track down a third suspect in what police are calling a hazing death of 20-year-old Caleb Wilson.
Well, just today, a second suspect was arrested by U.S. Marshals in connection to the case. Kyle Thurman.
WDSU reporter Jasmine Franklin is live. Jasmine, what are you learning about this case?
Gina, tonight police confirmed a second suspect has been taken into custody in connection to the death of Caleb Wilson, while a third suspect remains at large.
So it's one of those problems that's been persistent that we have not figured out how do we eradicate this from our culture.
Multiple arrests could be on the table for additional suspects in the alleged hazing death of 20-year-old Southern University student Caleb Wilson, a case that sparked nationwide attention.
Losing your son or daughter or anyone before their time as a parent is one of the absolute hardest things.
Stephen Groover knows what the attention feels like. His son, Max Groover, died at LSU after being forced to drink large amounts of alcohol while pledging Phi Delta Theta fraternity. Louisiana enacted a harsher hazing law in 2018 after his death.
When my son passed away, when Max passed away, the law in the state of Louisiana was a $100 fine and up to 30 days in jail. It was really no more than a slap on the wrist. But again, today's felony hazing law is a felony on your record. It's going to ruin your life if you're convicted of it.
Hazing is now classified as a felony when it results in a death with a fine of up to $10,000 and a maximum of up to 5 years in prison. Now, at least 3 suspects, including 23-year-old Caleb McCrary and Kyle Thurman, are facing those heightened charges.
I think anybody who was physically on that scene could easily be charged as a principal.
Legal analyst Tanya Faya says she believes additional charges could be on the table. BRPD says none of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity members or pledges called police to ask for help after Caleb Wilson was reportedly punched in the chest multiple times with boxing gloves before collapsing and becoming unresponsive during a fraternity ritual.
If you have knowledge that one is planned, then you can face the same hazing charges as the person who physically put hands on the person that they hazed.
Police say they have conducted more than a dozen interviews. Former Dillard University president Walter Kimbrough is a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity.
No, it's not surprising. I mean, we have had the only year, I think, in recent modern history where we really didn't record any hazing deaths was 2020 during the pandemic.
Kimbrough says he believes the arrests are justified.
Because you're talking about people who are really still trying to develop their own identity, saying, I'm going to break you down and help you develop your identity based on student development theory.
Okay, so you saw that updated clip, and if you notice, you've seen another man being interviewed. He said he understands that feeling because his son died from hazing due to drinking huge chugs of alcohol. So hazing's not no joke. It's really dangerous. I don't really think you have to do so much torment and put someone through so much HE double hockey sticks just to get them to be worthy of your fraternity. You know what I'm saying? simple challenges, something like good, like testing them out, like doing good deeds would have helped. Not this. So let's play the third clip of the third suspect being caught, because they caught all three of them now.
Punched Omega Sci-Fi. Details about the three suspects arrested in the alleged hazing death of Caleb Wilson. Police say each of the suspects punched Omega Sci-Fi pledges that night nearly 2 weeks ago, but the warrants suggest only Caleb McCrary delivered the fatal blow.
Arrest warrants reveal the role each played. Here is Maddie Kurth now with what investigators are saying the other two men did as they now face a felony.
John, this is exclusive video here of 28-year-old Isiah Smith turning himself into Baton Rouge police this morning. Investigators say he held the title Dean of Pledges within the fraternity and that he punched at least one person that night. His bond was set at $25,000. He and 25-year-old Kyle Thurman now face criminal hazing charges, which were upgraded to a felony in Louisiana 7 years ago. They each face up to 5 years in prison if convicted. Now, police say Wilson and 8 other pledges were in a warehouse leased to Smith's father. Thurman is accused of punching one half of the pledges, while 23-year-old Caleb McCrary is accused of punching the other half, including Caleb Wilson. An arrest warrant says McCrary delivered 4 blows to Wilson's chest before he collapsed to the ground unconscious. It sees that additional manslaughter charge now punishable by up to 40 years in prison. Investigators say the pledges were then ushered into another room while frat leadership tended to Wilson, changing his clothes before loading him up into Smith's car and dropping him off at a hospital and leaving before the police arrived. A preliminary autopsy found a small bruise on the right side of Wilson's chest. The coroner says his body was released to a funeral home last week, but that official cause and manner of his death is still pending.
I don't expect this to go to trial, but it could. But I think they're going to be trying to look for mercy rather than to be defiant in this case. Well, that'd be my advice if I was representing them.
Now the standard procedures play out with arraignments and motion hearings. McCrary is due back in court in May, and Smith is to return in June. Their lawyers spoke outside of the courthouse.
Isiah is terribly remorseful about this. This is nothing that anybody wanted. And I think we're still in a state of shock about what's going on.
My client is grieving right now. He's grieving the loss of a friend. He's grieving the potential loss of his life. I mean, this is a traumatic event.
We're still waiting on a bond amount and the next court date for Thurman. In the meantime, Wilson's family will host a public memorial Friday at the F.G. Clark Activity Center in Baton Rouge. That's from noon to 5, with a celebration of life service to follow.
Okay, that third clip of the third suspect being caught, so they caught all 3 of the suspects. So according to the news, you heard, Wilson and the other 8 fraternity members went into the warehouse owned by Isiah Smith's father, as Thurman and McCrary led them inside Smith's father's warehouse to perform the hazing act on the members. As all they punched the members in the chest and now to prove their worth of the fraternity, Caleb Williams suffered 4 blows by Caleb McCrary, leading to McCrary delivering the final blow to Wilson's chest, putting him in a seizure, and passing out. So they realized what they seen, and they tried to hide their criminal act by changing his clothes and putting him in some gym clothes and telling him, he passed out, he collapsed playing basketball. But like I said, the clothes are clean, you know what I'm saying? The only thing they can see is a mark, a bruise on his chest. Like, how was he playing basketball with a bruise on his chest when you're playing basketball, your clothes is most likely gonna have some dirt, and your only time you're gonna get scratches on your body part is in the arm or the legs and all, because they're visible. You can't really get a mark when your shirt is covering it. That's pretty impossible. So of course that story, did not sit well with them. It didn't seem like a legit, accurate story. So, you know, when police went to investigate, they realized what really happened, and those guys are getting criminally charged for criminal hazing. They can spend up to 40 years to prison. So all that 5 years for each of them, no. 40 years to 80 years to life. Because this gotta stop, you know what I'm saying? Well, me and my mom, we had conversations about hazing. You know, she doesn't like it. She don't think, you know, nobody should join the fraternity because all that stuff they got to go through. If you got to get abused that much to be a part of a fraternity, then it's not worth it. So this is all I have for this story. I'm glad I was finally had the time to, you know, talk about it. And condolences to Caleb Wilson's friends and family. You know, it's sad that they got to you know, have this funeral and everything. And man, these pledges and this Delta fraternity. If you guys, like I said, if you got to do all that just to be a part of a fraternity, don't do it. This is JG, always on topics. I done did well, all I can say. Peace out.